Hey, welcome back to the channel, my fellow weather junkies. I'm your host, meteorologist Greg Majeski, your trusted weather source here, bringing the weather without all that social media hype. Here on your Thursday, June 5th, 2025. Now, we got a lot to talk about in this update. We're going to give you a quick update on the tropics and a little public service announcement about certain things you need to watch out on social media when it comes to the tropical season this year. We're also going to talk about some very busy weather, especially over the next several days. We could see what's known as a derecho. That's a multicellular complex of thunderstorms that can be quite potent and quite severe. We'll show you the possibilities on that. And then we'll also talk a little bit about a pattern shift coming our way here, potentially as we head toward the middle of the month. Now, before we get going, if you have subscribed to the channel, again, thank you once again. And if you can help our little channel out, if you're not a subscriber, please consider it. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And if you like what you see on this report, leave me a comment down below. Give me a thumbs up. It does help with that almighty YouTube algorithm. So let's go take a look at the tropics. All right, we're going to first take a look here at the latest visible imagery here. I took the snapshot from yesterday. I want to highlight a couple things here right now, as we've got some pretty good dust plumes here coming off the west coast of Africa, and kind of got this tannish hue here across the Caribbean. So we've got dust that's coming across the Atlantic right now. Not unusual for this time of year. The trade winds are a little bit stronger, so we get a lot of the dry air, and it's definitely kryptonite when it comes to tropical systems. So this is going to be an inhibitor for anything to develop out there for right now. Now, as far as our public service announcement, if you see anything like this, you see that was the overnight American GFS. There is not going to be a big hurricane coming to Florida on the 18th of June. That is way too far out. And keep in mind, the GFS model develops these phantom storms like 4-to-1 compared to the European model. So again, if you see anything posted like that, please ignore it. Now, as far as what we're looking for, as far as the month of June, this is the areas we typically look for right now. We're looking at areas here in the Gulf of Mexico and off the southeastern coast. Those are our hot zones as we're just getting started into the hurricane season. And as far as the next 7 days are concerned from the National Hurricane Center, hey, it's all quiet. We don't have to worry about it right now. Now, the one thing we definitely going to have to keep an eye on or worry about a little bit is the thunderstorm threat. It's going to be pretty active here over the next 3 days, as we're going to have a series of disturbances and complex storms that are going to be rolling out. The potential's there that we could see a potential derecho. If you recall, last year we had a really strong one that moved into Houston, Texas, knocked out a lot of the power grid. Not saying categorically we're going to see that, but it is possibly there. So we're going to focus in on the next 3 days here first, and then we'll break this down, okay? So right now, what we're going to be watching for here today, you see the marginal risk here, kind of stretching here from Maine, going all the way back here toward Arkansas. That's with a frontal boundary. And then we got a couple of hot pockets in here. We got an enhanced area here across portions of Kansas, Oklahoma there, another one down here toward Texas. So we got a couple of hot zones there surrounded by that slight risk in there for your day one outlook. And this is going to begin to shift off toward the east. So here's your day two. Again, kind of stretching from areas of the South Central Plains, Colorado, Arizona, going all the way over here into Kentucky and North Georgia. Again, that could be a complex of storms moving from west to east that could fire off some severe weather. Whether it's a derecho or not remains to be seen, but something to watch there. And that continues even going into day three, again, going from Oklahoma, Texas, going into Georgia, Alabama, into the Carolinas. So again, the next 3 days are going to be pretty active with the thunderstorm threat. So watch out for these severe thunderstorms. Now, it's not going to be like an all-day rain event or all-day thunderstorm event. There'll be storms that are going to be hit, they'll move, and they'll move off. And that should be about it, depending on where you're located. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at your day one. We're going to break down the look here for today. So let's look at the tornado threat here, as we do have running about 5% in the brown hue. So we're talking about Dodge City down toward Amarillo, Lubbock into that zone here. Midland is getting that 5% risk for today. The wind threat for today is breaking down like this. Again, a larger area there in yellow. Dodge City, Amarillo, obviously the Odessa, Norman, and then you got that little bullseye right there showing a 30% chance of wind risk damage there. That's in Liberal, Kansas, Guyman right there in Oklahoma. So a little area there, kind of out in no man's land, so kind of a good place to have that, but hopefully it does not get into Dodge City. Then you see the 5% risk here stretching along with that frontal boundary from Maine all the way down in toward Arkansas right through there. What about the hail risk for today? Let's take a look at that. The hail threat looking like this. Again, that big bullseye across Texas. And of course, if you've been paying attention this severe weather season, you know we've had just unbelievable hail this year. And once again, I think baseball size hail, not out of the question, especially in that red hot zone there. You see the shaded hue that's kind of painted in from the Storm Prediction Center. That's where the highest probability of hail is going to be. But obviously in that red zone running 30%, I think baseball size hail or higher is possible in those zones here for today. What about day 2 categorical breakdown? Let's take a look at that. We'll push this back again. This is for tomorrow. Looking at your tornado threat here, running about 2%, so not too terribly high from Colorado and into New Mexico and the Texas Panhandle going in toward Kentucky. Again, not unusual, especially with these squall line multicellular storms. They typically do not generate a whole lot of tornadoes. They can, but not like a major outbreak, okay? But the big threat's going to be, obviously, the wind threat's going to be higher, and I would not be surprised to see this upgraded potentially for tomorrow. Would not shock me if you get an enhanced for tomorrow. Again, stretching from Colorado and the Texas Panhandle going all the way into Kentucky, Tennessee, Alabama, and Northwest Georgia. That's running about 15%. Obviously, the brown area there, the larger area going from the Northeast and going all the way back into the South Central Plains and the Southeast is running about 5%. And what about the hail threat? Again, not too terribly bad, not as bad as today's, for example, but obviously out here across Colorado and Texas Panhandle, par for the course, normal stuff. You're going to see the higher risk for hail there and reduced chances the further off toward the east that you go there with that. So taking a look at the excessive rainfall forecast, I want to make this point very relevant here. You know, more people die from floods than anything else in the given year. And apparently we had a death yesterday out in Texas for somebody who was trying to cross a flooded area and ended up drowning. So again, very, very important to kind of track this as well as a severe weather element here. So your day 1 outlook here is showing a little bullseye across portions of Kansas and Oklahoma. Obviously, where the heavy thunderstorms are, thus you're going to get the opportunities for heavy rains here. And this kind of sits in the same area here. So going here from your Thursday into Friday, not really changing all that much, really kind of stretching from the Northeast back into the central part of the country, and then going back over to Colorado and Utah as well. And then this kind of shifts a little bit here as we go into this upcoming weekend. Again, going into your Saturday here across the Southeast, Tennessee, Oklahoma, northern Mississippi, Arkansas, parts of Alabama, kind of getting out of the gun there as we go into your Saturday. How about Sunday into the weekend? Again, that kind of shifts off a little bit, but still got that bullseye hot spot there across Oklahoma and Texas. Boy, they've had a lot of rain this spring, and this will continue all across the Southeast going into your Sunday. And looks like that'll continue as well into Monday. This is going into next week where we're seeing just that marginal risk here for a big part of the Southeast, kind of going into the South Central portion of the United States with that high rain and heavy rain threat continuing into that zone. So let's go ahead and take a look at the big picture here across the continental United States as we're looking at the GOES 19 satellite. A lot of clouds out there for today, that's for sure. Seeing a little sunshine up across portions of the Northeast. Some rain still with that upper-level disturbance that moved in and out of the Gulf yesterday through the Carolinas. Got some thunderstorms here approaching the Dallas area, but a lot of cloud cover. Obviously, we got our frontal boundary right in through here as well. So that's going to be one of the zones we got to watch for those thunderstorms to pop up a little bit later today. So here's that surface map right there. Again, kind of a complex kind of mismatch all over the place. So just kind of reinforces the fact we got a little bit of an unsettled weather pattern here across the nation. But the big thing that we're going to be watching here over the next several days are these disturbances that are going to be kind of rotating here out of the South Central Plains and into the Southeast and bringing with it those clusters of thunderstorms that'll be moving on through. And again, obviously, we've been saying the potential for multicellular complex storms or maybe derechos. We'll see as we go through the next few days. Now, current watches and warnings, we do have some flash flood watches there across portions of Oklahoma. They have been very inundated with a lot of heavy rain this spring, and that continues here. We're going to see some heavy rains there for the next few days, and I'll show you the model data here in a second to kind of reinforce that. But for right now, we're looking at a complex area of thunderstorms here near Newcastle. Just moved through there in Graham. Again, these are kind of moving off toward the east at some 40 miles per hour or so. So the next couple hours, you're moving into the Dallas area. And as we kind of continue through the morning and into the afternoon, these have the potential to go severe once again as these storms continue to move off toward the east. And they kind of feed off that daytime heating. All right, folks, let's go ahead and take a deep dive into our latest model data. First, we're going to focus in on the next 48 hours as we're looking at the high-resolution model here. And basically, we'll be watching these complex of thunderstorms that'll be kind of moving from west to east. It's going to be dropping a lot of heavy rains, especially across Oklahoma. That really seems to be the hot zone here over the next couple days as far as the level of severe weather, as well as some heavy rains and flooding potential that's going to be there over the next couple of days. So let's go ahead and talk about that. Let's go ahead and make this thing go ahead and loop a little bit. Again, we're going to be watching heading into this evening. Again, as I go ahead and freeze that right there. Obviously, Colorado coming back into areas of Kansas and into Texas. That's where that hot zone is for severe weather. Remember, we have a couple of pockets of enhanced severe weather in that zone for today. And that'll continue into the overnight hours for tonight. So some scattered storms here across the southeast. Some rains up here across portions of the Dakotas and into areas of Iowa. and a little unsettled weather. Still getting some rains back across Utah and northern Arizona. Very unusual to see that in June. All right, let's go ahead and take this thing forward here a little bit. Again, as we kind of watch those storms progress off toward the east of the overnight. Again, some very heavy rains possible up here across northern portions of Oklahoma. We do have that flash flood watch in effect for that zone as that moves on off to the east. Again, that could be bringing some severe weather into parts of Missouri and into Arkansas and into southeastern portions of Oklahoma with that complex of storms there. So that's our first one. It fizzles on out as it moves on into areas of Kentucky throughout the day there on Friday. So this could fire up some severe weather kind of going into Kentucky, and we'll watch and see how this thing develops. Again, when it goes into the next day, we're looking for those outflow boundaries from previous storms, and that can kind of determine exactly where these storms kind of get flared up there. But you see that severe weather there going late in the day on Friday across portions of Tennessee, and then it kind of sneaks into northern Georgia there going into the late hours there. So going into Alabama and Georgia going in toward the overnight late there on Friday could see some severe weather. Obviously, we get some more storms back here toward the west across Oklahoma and Kansas once again. But that little complex moves on off toward the east, and then we'll turn our attention to the next complex. That little disturbance comes out of Colorado, and it flares up some more big thunderstorms there going into the early morning hours on Saturday across portions of Kansas, Oklahoma, and back into Arkansas once again. So we're going to continue to watch these series of storms that'll continue to kind of move from west to east there across the south central United States and into the southeast. Now, as we mentioned, ground zero for the precipitation is definitely Oklahoma. Check out some of these returns. Now, you see a lot of rain here all the way from Maine, all the way back into the Ohio River Valley, Tennessee River Valley, and back into the south central portion of the United States. Now, any one of these storms, a quick inch or two, not out of the question, but it's very concentrated there in Oklahoma, that's for sure. When you see those blue areas in there, we're talking 5 inches plus here, upwards of 6 inches here in some of these spots, because there's one that's 6. Now, a lot of that purple is getting upwards of 3 to 4 inches of rain. So Oklahoma's looking at flooding problems there. Like I mentioned earlier, we had a drowning death yesterday. So if you come across anything flooded across Oklahoma, don't drown, turn around. That's the old saying going, if you come across anything that's flooded, and don't try to attempt to drive a vehicle through it. But again, these rains will come all the way through the Ohio River Valley and into the northeast. So looking a little bit damp here over the next couple of days here across the country. Even across the high plains, a little bit of rain here stretching back into areas of Colorado, although the rainfall amounts are not all that high. Now, as far as what we're talking about temperature-wise, not bad by June standards. Yes, we've got some hot weather. Texas and Southwest, obviously, that's 98, 94, 98. Got some 90s down here in Louisiana and into Arkansas. It is that time of year. But these temperatures here in the middle of the country, obviously being held down by clouds and rain here, mostly into the 70s, even some 50s there in Nebraska right now for afternoon highs here on your Thursday. Let's go into your Friday morning's lows here. We'll check that out here. Again, looking at a lot of the east here, very warm. Notice these temperatures down here in Texas sitting down here in the mid-70s again. So those thunderstorms are really not going to die off all that much. Very warm, buoyant, moist air for them to kind of feed off. It is cool out here in the west, though. A lot of 40s, even some 30s in the higher mountains here across Colorado. And when these little impulses inject and kind of bump into that moist air, you get the thunderstorms to flare up there. So that's what we can see on your Friday morning. And then your Friday afternoon highs here looking like this, a little more, noticing a little more purple on the map here across the southwest, Texas, and into the southeast. So definitely warming up a little bit, seeing a few 90s now sneaking in there portions of Arkansas. It does cool off a little bit across the northeast. They're pretty warm here for today. Temperatures in the middle to upper 80s. They cool off a little bit here back in the upper 60s here a little bit. Still a little warm pocket there across portions of Kentucky, but really not looking bad. This part of the country looks like the 6 to 10 day outlook is supporting below normal temperatures, but the pattern change is coming, and with that, it's going to be hotter temperatures, especially as we go past the middle of the month. So what I want to show you here is the European 500 millibar height anomaly map. When you see the blues, that's your storm systems. When you see the areas there in orange, that's your high pressure systems, okay, as we're going on through. So we're definitely going to be seeing a bit of a change here. Now, one thing I do want to highlight here is for this upcoming weekend, and with the storm system dropping down here, going this weekend and into the areas there around the Great Lakes this weekend, that's going to probably bring the smoke back down out of Canada again. So look for the smoky conditions to come back down again, come in this weekend and into early next week as that northwest flow comes in here and some of that fire smoke works its way back down to the United States. Now, I think it'll be a quick hit and run. I think it'll shift back up to the northeast once again as that low pulls out toward the middle of the week there. And then we got another disturbance here toward the west coast. So this is the start of the pattern shift. We'll start getting some unsettled weather out here on the west coast. This is going out toward Friday, the end of next week. And again, as I take this forward here, and this has been kind of consistent. Again, anything beyond 7 days, you're looking for model consistency. And what I've been seeing more and more of this is as we head toward past the middle of the month, we're getting high pressure to build up here in the middle of the country. So the storm pattern flow is going to kind of be going like this. So what that means is we got to watch for these severe weather derechos or multicellular systems that kind of come out of the high plains and coming down into areas of the Ohio River Valley here as we head towards, say, the 17th, 18th, and 19th. As it looks like they're still more pronounced. So it looks like the heat should build up there, and then we'll see the precipitation should begin to dry a little bit, but that really starts to strengthen. They're looking at Wednesday, that high gets even stronger there in the middle of the country, but unsettled there across the areas of the Pacific Northwest. So let's go ahead and look at your European model. Again, we're focusing here on the next 7 days. Again, we already talked about the next 2. This is going into Saturday. Again, we're watching those complex storms here in the middle of the country, kind of sliding off toward the east. Here's our cold front, so things are going to be cooling down there across the northeast after a pretty warm day today. We'll be seeing things a little bit cooler there, but definitely staying unsettled here. Look at this is your Saturday afternoon, Saturday evening. See the storms there across the southeast. Sunday morning, seeing the storms all across the southeast once again, and Sunday afternoon. So it looks like they're Carolinas, the southeast, Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi looking unsettled. And still staying unsettled right into Monday. So Monday looking unsettled there. Again, another storm system. Here's that frontal system coming in here going to early next week. Here's another front coming down. This is that northwesterly flow. It's going to bring in that smoke chance here going in toward Monday. There may be even some advanced ones out ahead of that. We got kind of 2 fronts kind of pushing on through there. And then that lifts back up toward the north. But notice the southeast. Again, going into Tuesday, still looking very unsettled there across a big portion of the southeast from Georgia, Alabama, back over toward Texas as that wet pattern continues in toward next week. Now let's go ahead and take this on out to Thursday and Wednesday, remaining unsettled on the Texas Gulf Coast there. Looks like we got a storm system coming out here across the high plains going into Thursday morning here from the Dakotas back down toward Kansas. So that begins to shift again. We start to see a little bit of a pattern shift. I'm noticing that the heights start to crash out here at past 180. So again, we'll start seeing the storm shift coming out here to the Pacific Northwest, where they'll start seeing some rain back out here. And it should allow things to dry out here across the southeast long term as we go in toward the middle of the month. So let's go ahead and wrap things up and take a look at your rainfall totals here over the next 7 days. Here's the hot zones here. Again, wherever these thunderstorms kind of line up, so you can see with the wet weather, the northeast, kind of here in the middle of the country, right along the Gulf Coast. Again, looking pretty wet over the next 7 days here, especially across the south. So just get ready for rainy and cloudy days. But it does look like beyond the 7 day, if that ridging holds true, we'll see a little more traditional summertime weather. Hotter temperatures, obviously isolated scattered afternoon thunderstorms, but not concentrated rain days like we're going to kind of see here over the next 7 days. So let's look at your climate outlook here. Again, that big bullseye there with below normal temperatures here from the 10th through the 14th. Again, a lot of that's based off precipitation, rain, kind of keeping things down. Notice it's pretty warm out here toward the west. So we got above normal temperatures here, pretty warm here. Temperatures here probably running some, 10 degrees below normal here across portions of Texas and Oklahoma, predominantly because of clouds and rain. Now, as we go ahead and take a look at this beyond this, then you're going to start seeing that pattern change that we just talked about here. Look at the 8 to 14, much warmer across the country, except out there on the West Coast. Again, we start to see that big dive in the jet stream there, and you notice the temperatures cool off there on the West Coast, but definitely looking a little bit warm with above normal temperatures up here in the high plains as we go in from the 12th through the 18th of the month. Now, what about precipitation? Now, this part I'm okay with. This is the 6 to 10 day outlook here, going from the 10th to the 14th, showing above normal precipitation across the southeast, a little bit below pocket there across portions of the Great Lakes, but I don't have a problem with this one. But looking out beyond this one, going out to 8th to the 14th, that I'm not too sure about. It's showing above normal for a lot of the country, especially right along the Gulf Coast, a little bit below normal there across areas of New England, seeing a little pocket up there. And I would not be surprised to see a little drier there in the middle of the country as we get the new update later today. Because with that big ridging taking place in there, the heat should build. It should also dry out a little bit as we head toward the middle of the month. So this takes you from 12th to the 18th. I think this map might change a little bit on the update later today. We'll stay tuned and see if that happens or not. All right, again, that's y'all's update for today. Again, appreciate everybody checking out the channel. And if you'd like to make this a normal feature in your YouTube feed, best thing I can ask for you to do is please hit that subscribe button. Make sure you hit the notification bell. That way it pops up in your feed whenever you want to see it. And again, if you ever have a weather-related question, by all means, please post it down below. More than happy to answer your weather-related questions. And please share this with your family and friends. We're kind of a struggling small weather channel here trying to find our way in the YouTube universe. And if you'd like to help us grow the channel, I do appreciate y'all's help. All right, that's y'all update for now. You guys take it easy, be good, stay safe, and we'll see you next time. Till then, y'all have a great day. Bye, guys.